All right, in this video, I want to talk with you about God's calendar versus the Gregorian calendar. If you're unfamiliar with what the Gregorian calendar is, it is the calendar that we use here in this world that was established by, guess who? The Romans. There are some basic facts here that we need to take a look at. God established new moon. We know he established new moon because people were using it. And new moon literally directly translates to head of the month. It is the beginning of the month. God also says in the Psalms that the moon is the faithful witness in the sky. God also says in Leviticus 23 that when you're counting down his Sabbaths, that you are counting them. You're not naming them. So if you are in obedience to God's new moon, you're going to understand when his Sabbaths are. If you're not going to understand it because you've been born into a time of deception where you have been taught the Gregorian calendar and that's what you've been using your whole life. And yeah, I get it. It's kind of hard to accommodate your repertoire, but get over it. Because once you learn the truth in God's word, you either love the truth or you love the falsehood and the muck and the stench of what you've been living in. Okay? So this will enable us to see the fruit of your heart, to test your spirit, to see whether you're from God, whether you actually love the truth or not. These are basic facts. I'm not speaking to you on my own authority. I'm speaking to you on the word. So if you want to say I'm grasping at straws, then you speak on the word. You tell me, what's the truth? What did God establish? He said to Moses in Exodus, this is going to be your first month, the first month on your calendar. Based on what? New moon. How would Moses have known? What is the first day? New moon, the head of the month. And on a lunar calendar, you either have 29 days or you have 30 days. And if the first day of the month, as is written in Amos 8:5, is a rest day, well, then we know how to count it down, don't we? From Leviticus 23, it tells us how to count it down. You're going to have a rest day, then followed by 6 work days, then a rest day, followed by 6 work days, then a rest day. And those rest days that follow 6 work days are a week. That's defined as a week. So the first day of the month is not part of a week because it's not preceded by 6 work days. There are only 4 weeks in a month. Oh, but you say, well, it can't be that. You have to have consecutive weeks. You have to. I don't know why you have to. You have to because that's what you're used to. That's not what God established. He established the faithful witness in the sky, which is a witness at the beginning of every single month as to starting back over with a rest day, then counting down work days to rest days. No, it has to be consecutive weeks. Well, let me show you in Daniel 9 that that's a lie. That God can actually do whatever he wants to do. That during the 69th week, the anointed one is put to death. And then there's this period of time where from the 69th week when he's put to death, the ruler of the people who would come destroy the sanctuary. And then at the very end of time, the very last week, the 70th week, he confirms a covenant with many. And so even if you have not discerned that we're in that last week, there have been a lot of years, A lot of years between the time that the anointed one was put to death and the people of the ruler who would come came to destroy the sanctuary, aka establish Babylon, the great deception. So that demonstrates that weeks are not consecutive. He doesn't have to make weeks consecutive. And in Leviticus 23, when he's talking about the Festival of Weeks, he says, you are to count down 7 weeks up to the 50th day. Kind of a weird way to say that, isn't it? Why doesn't he just say count down 50 days? Because weeks are not consecutive. So you'd count down 4 weeks in one month, then 1 to 2 days in between, and then 3 more weeks in the next month, up to the 50th day. Moreover, if you read Leviticus 23, you will see that there are holy days that are date specific. The Passover, for example, begins on the evening of the 14th of Nisan of the first month. Festival of Trumpets begins on the first day of the 7th month. The Festival of Tabernacles begins on the 15th day of the 7th month. These are date-specific holy days, but on a lunar calendar, dates and seasons don't correlate. You have 11 days shy of the seasonal calendar, for example, of the Gregorian calendar that you're used to. You're used to seasons and dates correlating. But on God's calendar, that is not so. And that is the reason why in Leviticus 23, there are date-specific seasons and there are date-specific holy days and season-specific holy days, such as the offering of first fruits and the festival of weeks. They're based on harvest, so they are based on seasons, and no date is given. So we go back to, if you've been observing new moon, then you would know based on the moon when the first offering of first fruits occurred during a particular season. So we know that the Israelites celebrated the Passover when they entered the land. We know that the Jordan was at flood stage. The Jordan is at flood stage between March and April. And we know that the day after the Passover is 8 days, guys. An evening and then followed by 7 days. Okay, so it ends on the 21st. We know that the 22nd of that particular month during that season, because it's not going to be in the same month every year, Passover, I understand, kind of weird. We've been thinking Passover is always in spring, right? It's in spring sometimes, but not all the time. It can even be in winter, in summer. So we're not going to be able to go by the month of Nisan. So this so-called Hebrew calendar that you've been Googling has been prostituted to the Romans. And you might say, no, but Jews have kept track of this. No, they haven't. Lamentations 2:6 and Hosea 2:11 make that abundantly clear that God has removed the holy days, the Sabbaths, the new moons, has removed it. They have not kept track of it. Paul told you not to get your gospel from the people who have not accepted Christ. So no, they've not maintained his calendar. The calendar has been lost and prostituted to the calendar of the Romans, to the Gregorian calendar. Otherwise, you got to show me, where's Saturday in the Bible? Why are they observing a Saturday Sabbath when God's calendar demonstrates that it begins with a rest day, that you count down 6 work days to a rest day, there's your Sabbath. 6 work days to a rest day, there's your Sabbath. Why are they observing things in this way? Why do their dates and seasons correlate when God has given us a lunar calendar? So we know that the offering of first fruits is going to be between what we've been calling March and April, because that's a seasonal calendar, on the 22nd of this month, which we would determine by the moon. And how would we determine that? Well, if we're observing new moon, we'd be able to count it down, wouldn't we? But if we're not, we won't. And then Pentecost is counted down from the offering of first fruits. What y'all have been prostituting yourselves to is completely false. You should have known better based on the word. You should have known better based on what Paul said, that as far as the gospel is concerned, they're enemies. They've got all kinds of commentaries, rabbinical commentaries and traditions, that, Shavuot, on Shavuot, everyone heard that this is when the law was given to the people, and everyone heard in their own language on Mount Sinai. How is that? You didn't even know what Shavuot was. God hadn't even given you the command to observe the Festival of Weeks. So how is that? You hadn't even entered the land yet. You hadn't entered the land, which is the stipulation for understanding the offering of first fruits. When you enter the land I'm going to give you, this is what you are to observe. So you hadn't done any of that, and yet you know that on Shavuot, which you're calling, which is the Festival of Weeks, you all heard in your own language. Oh, you just knew that, huh? These are man's traditions, man's commentaries. They're not true. I've spoken on the word. I have spoken to you on the word in this video. If you don't believe it, it's not because of me. It's because you don't believe in the word. You can have your doubts, you can have your questions, but you bring them back to God and you don't go discern with him. But if you reject this and you defend it based on your authority, your understanding, it is because you do not love truth. You will be rejected as his priests. Period. You have to consider, if you are a person of God, if you claim to be a Christian and have that name on your forehead, you have to consider what he has said. That's what I've spoken to you on, what he has said in his word. And I know it based on obedience, because I have obeyed these things. You have not. You're just hearing them for the first time. So watch your tongue and watch your arrogance and watch your heart. Go discern it with him.